Good Shabbat, everyone. We're fresh off two sirens. It's been a busy morning. I want to thank our sponsors for this week, Malki and Jeffrey Meir, Elin Jeff's father, Moshe Azriel ben Chaim Simcha, Al Vashamo's Yartzeit was yesterday, Shabbat Shabbat Aliyah. Thank our monthly sponsors, Linda Mark Grunbaum, Elin Mark's father, Reuven ben Chaim, Al Vashalom, and thank Chaim Yol Fuld, sponsoring this week as a schut for their son, Binyamin, and all our soldiers and fighters in the IDF. Hashem should protect all of them and us as well. My attention was turned this morning because of something that Rav Natan Kotler is quoted as saying in L'chu Lachamu B'Lachami with its provocative title, The Opposite of Emunah, Belief, faith, is not kfira, heresy, but adishut, indifference. And that's our starting point. The Torah says at the end of Parshat Vayikra, Nefesh kitim ol ma'al, a person who acts treacherously, v'chata b'shgaga mikotshei Hashem, and he sins unintentionally, negligently with one of God's holy things. So that's the sin of mi'ilah. Mi'ilah means taking something or using something that belonged to Hekdesh, whether it's kache mizbeach, like a carbon, or an animal designated for a carbon, or kache bet you expropriate money that's dedicated to the Beit HaMikdash, use something intended for or already used in the Beit HaMikdash for your own private purposes, and you do it negligently. So then, classically, you have to pay the amount. There's tashlumin. You have to pay, as well as and bring a carbon, and you have to pay a chomesh on top of the money, a fifth in addition to the value of what you usurped it. But the interesting point that Chazal make and that Rav Kotler addresses is that it's only chata b'shgaga. It's only if it's done unintentionally, carelessly. But if you do it b'mezid, if you intentionally take an animal that's designated for carbon and use it for your own purposes, then either you have to pay for it or there's malkot. There's no din of tashlumei keren and chomesh, etc. It's only unintentional use that is penalized, which is strange. Why is that? So Rav Hirsch explains at the end of Parshat Vayikra that it's not direct opposition, not intentional sin, but indifference, which the Jewish sanctuary has to fear from its sons. In other words, we're not afraid of people who are criminals or overt intentional sinners. So they'll pay for their crimes. But what's worse is a person acts in a negligent, unthinking manner, indifferent to what the Mikdash is, insensitive to the fact that he's in the presence of holiness. That already the Torah can address. That's vichata bishgaga. You're sinning against God bishgaga, and that requires rectification. Sometimes it's even worse to sin bishgaga. In fact, the whole carbon chatat, the sin offering, is not for an intentional sin. A person who sins intentionally, there's no carbon going to help. Shgaga, though, to let a person focus and think a little more clearly through various things. Well, the reason why I thought about it this morning, I was sent by some good people, them. Agudat Yisrael issued a statement yesterday, a kol koreh from the Moetzah Gedolei HaTorah, from the Council of Torah sages, saying that the world is in turmoil. The enemies of Klal Yisrael are digging in their claws to shake the walls of the house of Israel, especially our brethren, the residents of Eretz HaKodesh. Yeah, the residents of Eretz HaKodesh, Toshavei Eretz HaKodesh, Hanutanim B'tzara B'sakana, who are in travail and distress, spiritually and physically. The residents of Eretz HaKodesh, they can't mention Medinat Yisrael. They can't mention the state of Israel, the citizens of the state of Israel. Get over yourselves. They issue a kol koreh at America, they'll mention the country, United States of America, not just residents of America. And what's even worse, they can't mention the IDF. They can't mention the soldiers. They do almost the exact opposite. They write that milchamot ani asiti, that wars are God's wars. God is Baal Milchamot. And that's true. But God doesn't use his shlichim. He doesn't have agents. The IDF are not the agents of God to prosecute the battle on his behalf. How do they think wars are fought? They can't thank them. They can't even say that you're in our thoughts and prayers, the soldiers of Israel sacrificing their lives on our behalf. They can't even say them thoughts and prayers. Even unthinking people in America, even atheists offer their prayers. The unthinking offer their thoughts. They can't say that? No, no. It's the type of indifference, purposely ignoring the reality around them because of God knows what Gödel said 100 years ago, that that's adishut, that's indifference, that's that's ignorance, a breathtaking type of ignorance. They can't pray for a doctor who's going to operate on them, even though God is Rofei Chol Am Yisrael. They can't thank their wives who prepare food for them, even though God is Azonet Olam. What are we talking about here? It's that type of indifference, that cavalier attitude towards the state of Israel, which is a country, a nation known across the world as the Jewish state, and not just people who happen to live in the land of Israel. You can't acknowledge that, then you're far from exercising true spiritual leadership. Forget political leadership, but true spiritual leadership over the Jewish people. That's Me'ilah B'Kodesh. That's trespassing on something that's holy. We can do better. We have done better. The thing is, where are they? And when will they step up to the plate? Shabbat Shalom.